There's a whole production here.
Yeah.
Music and
Oh
everything.
no, it's not that good. You're giving us too much credit.
Yeah!
Welcome back, guys. You heard us already talking just because our theme song is so impressive.
Yeah.
It's so impressive that it made someone go, oh shit, you guys are fully produced.
But that's what we do.
I'm expecting someone to pull out a triangle.
No.
Or like sound effects. Like, you know how you can use coconut halves to do like the horse?
Yeah, totally. Totally. We have a full sound effects crew. We have like a Foley artist. He's just like waiting for you to step on glass.
Right.
So he can use some weird thing that makes a glass noise, when in real life he could just step on glass.
Right.
Use it as a sound effect.
We're gonna do like a head breaking, like with the watermelon and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
just everything.
Who's
Everything.
playing the saw?
Right now? The song's played by Mini Bin Ari. Is that her name for violence?
Yes.
This is the Hype Man Podcast. My name is Jensen.
I'm Eric.
We are without Jeff Rosenthal again.
Yeah.
He might have developed Crohn's disease.
He's under the weather.
He's under the weather.
Yeah.
It's a tough day for him.
I hope he doesn't have Crohn's disease, by
Well,
the
you
way,
know,
just for the record.
it would be funny for a bit. I mean, we'd be able to say we know someone with Crohn's disease. I want to thank
Did you say
producer.
Crunk's disease? What do you say?
No, I have Crohn's disease.
I wish he had Crohn's disease.
I have
yeah.
Crohn's disease. We don't want Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is the best disease to have.
Right.
That's the best Crohn's disease. This is the Hype Man Podcast. We want to thank producer, independent record label owner, LP.
Yeah.
From Def Jux, the former label who put together our intro song this week. You might know him from stuff that he worked on with Cage or Aesop Rock or Kimu Tao or his own stuff, his own individual stuff.
And LP doing our podcast.
I know, it's amazing. Not true, though.
No, not at all.
LP
No,
did not
no.
produce this.
Our
Our friend Greg
did.
Mayo
Yeah.
did it. So we like to pretend that we're we have influence.
That's
or
right.
people know what our podcast is. And really, it's just our friend Greg Mayo. Today, this is a podcast that we've been extremely excited to record. This is one that I feel like we could definitely blow. We could blow this one.
I hope not.
Eric, but we could.
I'm trying my hardest not to.
We could fuck this up.
Right.
We have, let me just go through kind of what it is. Producer,
Yes.
record label owner,
Yes.
DJ,
Oh, yeah.
fucking kid phenom.
Yeah.
This doesn't come up much. We have A-Trak.
Internet
Is the place to
hero.
be. Internet hero.
Internet
Blogger.
Blogger, I know.
Blogger, yeah.
I forget everything. We had Catch Dubs on, and with Catch Dubs, it's like it's the same thing. You guys are like these hip hop hyphens.
Yeah.
These like quadruple 7-time threats.
I mean, how would you describe yourself?
DJ. I usually say DJ, producer, record label owner.
Yeah.
Blogger.
Everything else is... Yeah, if you want to say blogger, I'll
Blogger.
say sure.
Food enthusiast? Are you a food enthusiast?
Yeah,
We'll
who
take
isn't?
that. I'll
Yeah.
keep
I
asking
met
shit.
someone the other day who said they don't like eating. I wanted to like sit them down and have a long conversation. Like, tell me about this.
That person doesn't like happiness.
Yeah,
That's a horrible thing
wild.
not to
I
like.
know. Yeah, I don't get it.
Who is this person?
I
Is
know.
that Ally McBeal? Old reference, by the way. Thank you so much for doing this podcast, man.
Yeah.
We are all fans of your work.
Thank you.
Tremendous. So what we usually
This
do...
is my old hood. Well, no, it's not. I lived in this area for like a year.
And
so.
your brother's still... does he
Well,
live in the area? I know he works...
He used to.
Okay.
Yeah, he works up at Columbia.
right,
in Barnard, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most packed classes, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
His brother Dave won.
Yes, who I know.
From Chromeo.
Fan as well.
Also a teacher.
I didn't know that. You
Yeah.
teach music theory or what is
Oh,
that?
no.
French.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So you think it's packed with girls?
Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean...
Who knew? Very
That's-
fun. What if another hyphen guy?
Yes.
You guys with your fucking jobs.
Oh, and by the way, they killed on Conan.
Oh,
just
yeah,
the other
they
day.
were
I
good.
didn't see it.
So great.
DVRing while I'm here in New York.
Yeah.
I'll see it when I get home.
Yeah, so great.
So let's start. There's a couple things. I obviously you have a storied history in hip hop, but what we like to do normally, and coming from Montreal, where did you first hear hip hop? Where does that
How did
first
it
enter your life? And
Yeah.
if you say Cardinal Fish or I'll laugh. That's basically where we're okay.
No, when I was younger, I guess I used to listen to more rock, and then Beastie Boys and Cypress Hill probably made the transition.
The
for me.
white drug gateway.
Yes.
Right.
The gateway drug.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into hip hop when I was like maybe 11 or 12 or so, which would be like 93, 94. Well, yeah.
And were you DJing? I mean, when you learned about hip hop, that's when you
I
started
started
DJing?
scratching
Yeah.
really quickly. Yeah. So before that, I was listening to rock, and then I mean, I definitely remember when the video for So What You Want
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
from Beastie Boys, and then 94 is when I really got into hip hop, and then so my brother and I grew up really close, and he was a little older, so
Yeah.
he used to just bring back cassettes that
Yeah.
he would get from friends at school and stuff. So the albums that really like marked my life at that time and really got me into hip hop after the Beastie Boys would be Pete Rock and CL Smooth, the Main Ingredients, Far Side's first album,
Bizarre Ride,
De La, Balloon Mind State, Illmatic, Return of the Boom Bap, and a lot of those albums had scratching on it. I mean, there's a lot of Primo and Pete Rock stuff.
Especially So What You Want is Hurricane, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of scratching on that.
Yeah, for sure. So hearing that, I was just kind of like fascinated with scratching, and then it just went from that to me trying to scratch on my dad's record player after school kind of thing, and having already seen my brother and his friends try it out, but not really figuring stuff out. And then me being by myself one day and be like, oh, let me grab this record and try to scratch a little bit, but actually being able to do a bunch of scratches kind of right away, and then showing it to my brother like a little later, and him and his friends being like, yo, you're good at this, like you should do this. And then next thing you know, I start practicing every day, and then 2 years later I was world champion. So
I was gonna make that note myself, because I'm listening to the years and I'm like, how is this possible? So within 2 years, I mean, you have to think that there's something prodigy. I mean, I don't mean for you to humble brag yourself, but the truth is like, that's crazy.
I don't know. I practiced a lot.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, there's some people...
hours a day of monk-like dedication.
Yeah, like, there's some people who just are great at something. Like, I was really good at RC Pro-Am for Nintendo.
Really good.
Really good. Within 2 years, I had gotten a high score.
Yes. But my dad never allowed us to have video games. So
that's where you put your energy towards.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, what'd your parents think when you were like a monk and hunkering down?
They didn't get it at first. I remember when I first wanted to buy an actual turntable.
Yeah.
Once after having spent a couple weeks or months or whatever on my dad's, belt drive record player, breaking needles and stuff, and then being like, all right, you know what? Let me get I have bar mitzvah money in the bank account. Let me get an actual used Technics 1200.
Yeah.
And that was a whole convincing thing with my dad of like, why do you want a record player? We have one.
Right.
My brother stepping in again and being like, no, Dad, you don't get it. Like, he scratches and he's really good and he should do this. And my dad being like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And your brother's playing keyboards and he's
playing the guitar. Yeah, he was playing in bands and stuff.
Okay.
My first couple gigs were with my brother's band at the time.
Really?
Yeah, I would just kind of like, they would play in these like local music bars and clubs and whatever.
Sure.
And this is like in the era of acid jazz, by the way. And then I would just bring, the turntable and set it up and scratch over the band. And at the time I was like 13 or 14. So like I had to like hide, before and after my set and talk to the bar manager and be like, all right, so where are you going to, where am I hiding when I'm not actually playing?
That's funny.
So yeah, that's how that was my first couple gigs.
And I remember Rectangle. I was friends with DJ Rectangle around those years, and I remember him showing me the DMC video.
Oh yeah, and I never met him. It's funny, I don't know Rectangle.
Really good dude. I think he's still out in Vegas now. We talk every once in a while.
I mean, because at the time everybody used to use his records.
I remember the Beavis and Butthead one and all those sort of
just all
records.
the colored vinyl and everything. Yeah,
I still have a couple of mine.
Yeah, but my parents did become supportive. I don't want to just.
Oh sure.
No. I mean, but it's a hard pill to swallow at fucking 13. I mean, it's not
they were
like
what are you doing in clubs?
Sure.
But
what are you doing?
Yeah, but once I started getting like write-ups in the paper and stuff, they're like, all right, well, this is cool, as long as you keep your grades up, kind of thing. And then when I had to go to the World Finals for the DMCs in '97, that was in Italy. And my brother couldn't go with me. He had like finals at school or something. So my mom came with me. So like this.
Well, how do you find out about DMCs in the first place?
I mean, they have regionals in every city and stuff. So, I mean, I'm trying to remember how I first heard about it. I just, like my brother also had a college radio show. So he would interview certain DJs at his radio show, and through that I got to meet some of the guys. Including Kid Koala, who's like now known for his records on Ninja Tune and whatever. But he won the Montreal DMCs the year before me. So yeah, through my brother's radio show, I met some of these local DJs, and then and all of them, they were all kind of encouraging me, like next year you should enter the DMC. So come '97. I enter, I win Montreal, win Canada, gets the world, and win that, and it's like next thing you know, I'm world champion, and
5 times.
It's insane.
Yeah,
5 times.
Then go to win a total of 5 titles, and it all went really fast. And it was at the time, it's a little hard to to compare to now, because nowadays these DJ battles don't have as much of an impact as they did back then, because it all kind of burnt out. But
well, I mean, are they using Serato in these battles now or no?
It's just actually this year is the first year that they allow it.
Yeah.
But back then, when someone won the DMC World Championships, it really, everybody heard about it in the music world.
Those videos,
right?
You used to have to buy them at Workman's Outlet in Los Angeles.
Okay.
You had to go down Melrose to buy these videos,
Yeah.
and they were like contraband shit.
Really?
Because they weren't videoed well at all. They were almost videoed by like a surveillance spy tech toy. Like it wasn't
Compliments
even like
the DMC.
Yeah, it was a shitty.
Yeah,
it was
it
just
wasn't
edited bad, and it was just. I remember Rectangle's big moment was he scratched with his foot, which at the time was like fucking bonkers. You know what I mean? Like it was nuts.
Right.
And I barely saw it. I remember watching the video and being like, "What's he doing?" It was just videoed bad, but such a big deal at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely started my career for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it got my name out, and from then on, I was getting booked internationally. So suddenly, while still being in high school, I was starting to travel for gigs. Obviously across North America, but even overseas and everything. Yeah. Like the first summer, like as soon as I won the DMCs, next thing you know, I'm like flying out to Korea to go DJ out there and all this.
Crazy. Are you doing talk show Tiger Woods like appearances? You know how Tiger was like 11 and he was on,
right.
That's incredible. Like were you doing those appearances?
Not that I can recall.
Because now you'd be all over him.
Yeah,
you'd be
right,
on
yeah.
Ellen. Ellen would be dancing around you.
Yeah,
like it would just be like a different
You'd be Bieber,
gimmick.
right?
Yeah, you'd be Bieber.
Right. Man.
Oh, don't worry, you're fine.
Right. Yeah.
Go
but
ahead.
what did your friends think about this?
Well, the funny thing is, I didn't even really talk about it much with my friends at school. I mean, they just kind of like, they would come to find out about it, like, why are you missing school for a couple days? But for me, like, I just really enjoyed the whole sort of Bruce Wayne, like, double life,
Awesome.
So I'd be in school in the daytime, and then I would come home and practice my DJing. And I mean, soon enough, once I was, again, when I was getting like write-ups in the paper, like I remember being on the cover of like the Montreal, it's called the Montreal Mirror. It's like the weekly, like the equivalent of the Village Voice, right? So they put me on the cover when it was the week of the Canadian finals that I ended up winning.
Okay.
And my friends at school being like, all right, what's this? Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
How early did you have the name A-Trak? Like, when did you brand yourself?
Early, like, as it turns out, I'm trying to remember.
And did it have a CK, or was it always with just the K?
No, because
you were a blood and you didn't want a senior name, like DJ Quick.
I've made that joke many times.
Same thing, same reason.
I mean, a lot that whole phase of my life, a lot of it relates back to my big brother, because like it was just me and him hanging out all the time. So back then, Dave was into graffiti, so I, as the younger brother, would just kind of like doodle on paper, like, what's my tag going to be?
Yeah.
And then, so he would go out and actually write, and I would just kind of like, like I said, doodle on paper. And every month or whatever, I would come up with a name, like, what's my tag going to be? And so that's where A-Trak is from. It's just like, if you look, whatever's the slice of time, like the moment when I started DJing, at that time, I thought my tag was A-Trak. It was just a name that I had that I would just kind of write without actually going out and actually bombing for real.
Yeah.
But
and your brother's was Dave 1? His tag was Dave 1? Okay.
Yeah, he had a few, but among other things, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Another one was Banksy.
But yeah, that's where A-Trak is from, is like a pseudo tag that never really was tagged.
Yeah.
And then I started DJing. It's like, what's my name going to be? Well, I guess it's
You've
A-Trak.
already been doing it. Yeah. And so now you're what year do you win your 5th championship?
2000. I battled from 97 to 2000. So in 2000 I was 18, and that was my last year battling.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right,
I'm going pro.
Exactly.
I'm going in the draft.
And what is Sunglasses a Must
do I remember that? I just
encompass?
I totally forgot. Yeah, go ahead.
Sunglasses is a must. Like, what was the DVD about? You
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I mean, like, what are the years there?
I mean, for those who don't know, Sunglasses is a Must is a DVD that I put out in 2006 based on footage that I had just accumulated from when I first started. So I think it goes all the way back to 96,
okay.
I would say. 96 until 2006. It was 10 years.
And that's how I knew you had worked with the Invisible Scratch Pickles. You were like a member, basically.
Right,
They like jumped you in, sort of.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, the Scratch Pickles thing is, as soon as I won the DMCs, really right before I won the Worlds, in 97, what is it? Yeah, in 97, there's a promoter that brought Qbert to Montreal to play a show, and he booked me with him. So Q and I did a gig, and he I guess was into. He was like, "Yo, this is crazy. There's a kid scratching or whatever."
Yeah.
So he was into it, and we kept in touch. And then he came back to judge the Canadian finals. I won the Canadian finals, and after that, he was like, "All right, you know what? I want to put you down with the Scratch Pickles," which was funny because I hadn't even met the other members of the crew, and they were all in San Francisco and much older than me.
Yeah.
But so I was sort of an honorary member of the Scratch Pickles.
Incredible.
Right as I was going into the DMC World Championships.
Crazy.
And what makes you say that well, first of all, let me just note that didn't Kanye want to buy the term "sunglasses is a must"?
I must have said that in an interview once. I mean, this is something Kanye says a lot of things. This is something he said once. He was really into that name. He was, and I think it was around the time that he was first starting to play with the idea of doing a TV show pilot. It was the whole HBO thing.
Yeah.
And he couldn't come up with a title. And I remember one day he was like, "Man, let me use sunglasses as a must." He's like, "No, that's my name."
I love that. And when I first met Nabil, who is Kanye's photographer and our music video director, he told me that he bought. Yeah. That he squatted KanyeWest.com.
That's how they met Nabil. Nabil was the guy who bought KanyeWest.com, and he hustled
and brokered him. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, "All right, I'll sell you back the website name if you let me take your picture."
How great is that?
Amazing. And that's totally illegal. I mean, probably not then though. Now, like someone owned LeBron James, and LeBron just was like, that's illegal. They're like, "Yeah, I'll give it to you." And they just handed it over to him.
You definitely can't do that with Twitter accounts. I mean,
now you.
Everybody is the real something. Well, you guys should be the real. It's the real.
Then you're just an account that stutters.
Right.
I think you can do that at Twitter now. I think that if you can prove you're so and so, and you send them an email, they'll get rid of the person who has your name, unless that person's really like Don Henley. You know what I mean? Like if Don Henley's mad.
Don Henley's on Twitter.
Well, I hope so. He'd be fucking Twitter gold. So tell us about this. So you win these championships. You're becoming this folklore. How does the Kanye connection start?
Well, do you decide that 5 championships is enough?
It's like Kobe. Yeah, just it's over.
Yeah. I like how everybody's just throwing up a hand here. There was basically you're making me go back to an era that I don't talk about as often, but I'm trying to remember how I really decided. It was kind of a general sentiment. So at that time, I was DJing with a crew called The Allies.
Okay.
Which was mainly me and my boy DJ Craze from Miami. So he won a bunch of world championships.
He's incredible.
So he and I won a lot of the titles around the same time, and a couple of our other friends who actually are now making hip hop beats for rappers that you know.
Wow.
Infamous and Develop. They've made beats for like Lil Wayne and Jewels and shit like that.
Awesome.
But anyways, we all had a crew together back then, and
Lil Wayne and Jewels together
and separate.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Awesome.
They produced Fireman.
Oh, great track.
Yeah.
Great track.
Yes. So, but we were all kind of like in the same path, entering battles at the same time together, and we were winning a lot of these titles, and we all were starting to grow weary of the battling scene around the same time. I mean, I think what was happening was, for me anyways, entering these battles was a huge effort, and just in terms of preparation, obviously, like having to come up with new material, and it was such a creative time for DJing. When I got into battles, like there was literally groundbreaking new techniques being invented every year. So after about 3-4 years of it, you're kind of like scratching your head, like, what more can I do with these turntables?
Yeah. It's like the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got a DJ over a Kia.
Right. So there's the effort to come up, like, to top, your previous performance every year. There's the pressure of, like, every time you enter a battle, there's even more on the line, because like it's the first time you enter, it's like, hey, I'm Joe Schmo from Nova Scotia.
Sure.
And then after a few years, it's like, hey, I'm 3-time world champion. So like if you lose, it means even more. So there's even more on the line. And on the other side of that, I remember noticing more and more that like the general public didn't even really know anymore that I was winning this battle or that battle. It was like, oh yeah, A-Trak, you won a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So I would spend months and months preparing for these battles, and like really like win another one. I'd be like, yes, oof, great. And then come home and people would be like, oh yeah, you're the kid that won when you were 15.
Like it's old news, right?
Yeah, or just like, yeah, you win stuff. And I'd be like, yeah, but I just won this one battle and I beat this guy and it was crazy. They'd be like, yeah, I saw the video. You were 15.
Yeah.
So, so after a while, it's kind of like, man, am I like wasting my time winning more of these?
Sure.
So it got to a point where like, I had, I guess, set certain benchmarks in my head where I wanted to win like the 3 main titles that existed. DMC at the time it was DMC, ITF, and Vestax, which was a mixer company, used to hold a big battle in Japan also. So I wanted to win all three because no one had won the three, like all three of them, and at 5 just sounded good in my head. Like, let me win 5 titles. Once I won those, it was like, all right, I think I'm spending so much time preparing for these battles, but I want to tour, I want to record, I want to do this and that. So that's kind of what made me get out of it, was, wanting to do more. Because really, when I was starting to DJ, all I wanted to do was scratch. Like, I couldn't care less about playing someone else's records in a DJ set or whatever else. But like, after a few years, growing into more of a bigger picture of what it means to be a DJ, at that point, I wanted to do, I wanted to go play parties and tour more, and like I was saying, just record more.
Was there anybody whose career you wanted to emulate or follow?
I mean, at the time,
I wonder who you would ask for like advice. Like I'm trying to look for that next thing.
Yeah, I would. I mean, for the first many years of my career, for me, the models were, the rest of the Scratch Pickles for sure. Someone like Mixmaster Mike, who went to DJ for the Beastie Boys, so really took it to a whole other level of exposure. Yeah. The Executioners for sure, and I was very tight with those guys right from the start.
We had Sean C. and that's
Oh, dope. Yeah. I just saw Sean last night. He's my homie for sure.
Yeah.
And seeing them go and make their record on Loud, for example, that was a big deal. Yeah. And the Beat Junkies out in LA, and then some of the guys from the previous generation. Jazzy Jeff was always a big model for me in my career, even to this day. I mean, just for someone to stay relevant for this long.
That's crazy. Yeah. So let's speed into Kanye.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kanye. I stopped battling after 2000, and then for a couple of years, I basically toured. Yeah. I was still in school, and I was just DJing a lot, like just traveling around, and the turntablist scene that I kind of came from was starting to dwindle and just fizzle out a bit. But I always wanted to kind of keep it going and kind of, if anything, take it to bigger stages and just continue to show new audiences and just new people this art form that like developed so fast that it seemed like in the late 90s, turntablism got so advanced so fast that the rest of the world didn't even realize that it wasn't like that scene in the movie Juice.
Right.
People were still like, oh yeah, you're
like, people are lamping still.
Yeah,
right? Putting the power into a lamp.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I realized quickly that the techniques that my friends and I had developed were still like unknown to like a whole world at large. So I wanted to continue DJing and show it to more people. Yeah. And it started feeling like I wanted to DJ for somebody, or just kind of like get some sort of hookup to play for bigger audiences. And the Kanye thing just worked out well. Where
I had heard, I'm just gonna tell you my rumor, Patrol, that you were brought in for someone else.
Well, if you go deep in the details of the story, it goes through Samantha Ronson.
That's what I heard. Yeah. Okay.
But basically, I was out in London, right after his album came out, after the College Dropout came out, and I was there for a gig, and I went to play an in-store at a record shop, and there's this shop called Deal Real that's closed now, but back then they used to have these great in-stores and just bring in a lot of like pair up different artists, and have really great in-stores. And so I came in before my show and played. It's funny because actually the shop was like excited to have me, so they're like, oh yeah, we'll have A-Trak. The only thing is, the in-store that we're having that day is ladies' night. Like, we're having a whole bunch of like female MCs performing, but he could just go up and do a routine or something. So Samantha Ronson was there, and this is when she was signed to Rockefeller. Right. So she's there with Dame. I didn't know any of this was going to happen. I just knew I was going to go, do a routine at a record shop. A young Lady Sovereign, before she was known, was there. I remember that too. Because I remember when she blew up like a year or two later, I was like, yo, I think that's the girl from the shop that was like rapping to Dame and all this stuff.
Crazy.
So all I know is I go up and play my records. And sure enough, after I'm kind of looking around and being like, why is every other performer a girl? But it's whatever. I'm just doing my routine, and like mid-scratch, I remember looking to the left and being like, Damon Dash is next to me. And
he went to ladies' night every week.
Right.
Well, he was there with Samantha.
Right.
So so he was really into my routine, but he wanted to get me to do something with Samantha.
Right.
And I had never even met Samantha, so like I started talking to him and Sam and Dame's assistant, whatever. And then later that night, I go play my gig, and at my gig, I did another routine with a Kanye record that I didn't do at the record shop. Mm-hmm. So the next day, the guy from the record shop hits me up and he's like, "Yo, the Kanye thing that you did, you should come back and play our in-store again." This weekend, because John Legend is coming to do an in-store, and he's in town with Kanye, so rumor is Kanye's probably going to show up, so you should come and like do the, like it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So these two conversations were happening at the same time during this weekend in London, where on one hand, Damon Dash was like hitting me up and trying to like get me to do something with Samantha.
Yeah.
This is like non-DJ Samantha, like on the guitar.
Yeah, right. Acoustic,
and meanwhile, the guys from the shop are like, "Yo, come back, do your Kanye routine. We think Kanye is gonna show up."
Right.
Sure enough, I come back and do a set the second day, and John Legend does his thing too. And in the corner, I see Kanye West with his sort of hoodie down, keeping a low profile. And then I remember Mos Def walked in. This is a really small shop, like the size of your apartment.
Crazy.
And then next thing you know, Mos Def walks in. So Mos Def and Kanye start freestyling, and everybody's like piling into the street in the shop, and people are going crazy. But Kanye is like still trying to like catch my attention, and just to tell me that he liked my routine. Yeah. And so we sort of just like exchange a quick sort of handshake, whatever, like that was dope kind of thing. But he's like, "Okay, I got to go back to rapping with Mos Def now." So they're doing their thing, and then, but I could tell that he was like, he wanted to like build more, but everybody went crazy at the shop over Kanye and Mos Def. And like, it was just like a big mob
bad
scene.
timing. Yeah.
So, the next day I had to fly home. I'm telling you like the most like detailed and drawn out version of the story. Usually I'm just like, I met him at a record shop.
No, don't worry.
But, so the next day I had to fly home, but, Dame's people were like, "Yo, there's this Rockefeller, press conference, you should come and talk to Dame again." And in my head, I'm like, I should go and talk to Kanye.
Yeah.
So I, literally before going to the airport, I go to this Rockefeller press conference. I remember SAS were there. You remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
And then and GLC was there because later on, I recorded a bunch of stuff with GLC.
Yeah.
Drive Slow.
So I remember seeing him there for the first time too. And Dame is trying to like hustle me into some Samantha shit. And and meanwhile,
Dame, what?
Yeah, no way.
And then meanwhile, I catch Kanye and I'm like, "Yo, I'm the DJ from the record shop yesterday." And he's like, "Oh shit, have you ever been on tour?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been touring for years." And everybody around him is like, "Yeah, that's A-Trak. He's a world champion. He's really good." He's like, "Oh, word? No, but I mean, who have you toured with?" And I'm like, "Just me and my DJ friends." And he's like, "No, I'm about to do this tour with Usher, and I need a DJ. So why don't you come and DJ for me?"
Yeah.
And here's Don C. Give him your info. Da da da. And that's how I started DJing for Kanye. So my first gig with Kanye was indeed on the Truth Tour with Usher. We didn't have a rehearsal. I think it was 12 or 13,000 people in a stadium, Usher fans.
Right.
And I was just kind of thrown in with the lines, like, all right, And
at that point, you were basically pressing play.
And scratching also. Like they had the set in the instant replay machine, and then I would just kind of like scratch over it. Right. And then, as we went through these shows, get more comfortable, yeah, we started kind of interacting more. But the first shows that I did with Kanye was just me, him, and John Legend.
Right.
And this is before John Legend's album came out.
Right.
So the show for a while was just the three of us, and then over time it grew into obviously a much bigger thing.
I first saw Kanye perform in. I forget the town, wherever, Asbury Park, New Jersey, where Bruce Springsteen's from. Went down there for that show, and it was the DJ before you who was working the instant replay machine, which was Don C.
Which Don C, whose nickname was DJ Offbeat.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because he wasn't a DJ, he was Kanye's manager, and they're like, "Hey, Don, go play the track."
And I met him after the show. Like, there was this big bus, and Consequence sold us 2 mixtapes.
Nice.
We're like, really? And he ran in to go get like 2 more or whatever. And it was my brother Dan, who you just met, and myself, and one of his friends too. Jeff was not there; he was in school. And I got Don C's information because I wanted to work with him. I wanted to work with Hustle Films.
Okay.
And so he's like, "Yo, call John Monopoly and let's set this up."
Yes, Monop.
And then a year later, oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah. So in the intervening year, the year later, we went to the Grammys.
Okay.
to video, behind the scenes and everything, and spend the week with Kanye and go to rehearsals and whatever.
Okay.
But in between, I first met you at like the W Hotel, because you, Monopoly, it was Consequence, GLC, and maybe like Happy or somebody was up there and just hanging out, and it's just like, that's A-Trak. I was like, okay, A-Trak, GLC, trying to remember everyone's name and still like tell John Monopoly why I was like, someone fit to work with them or whatever. And he was like, yeah, okay, just send me whatever. And I was like, okay, cool, see you later. Yeah. And then I met you again at the Good Music launch party at Bed or whatever it was called, right before the Grammys.
Okay.
And then went off and did that, and then the rest, then you blew up and he blew up, and we stayed the same. So
we're here in the kitchen,
right? Exactly. Exactly. But I do remember at the Good Music launch party, you were like the nicest person and really friendly and totally welcoming.
Canadians.
Yeah. I'll fight for you guys.
Is it okay to say that I don't remember meeting you?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Canadians. So explain to me too.
That's
now,
dope.
so now
I didn't know that. That's cool.
You go on a bunch of tours. You do the MTV Awards. You do tons of things.
I was there when Suge got shot.
Yeah, right.
We have not the first podcast.
Right.
Our second podcast person who said that.
Dan Levy,
a comedian, was also there. He ran though because he thought he got shot.
There was a Twitter conversation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So U.S. You basically are doing MTV Awards, Grammy Awards, multiple MTV Awards, worldwide stadium shows with them. I remember I remember probably halfway through the show becomes a very A-Trak centric. I mean, you're doing a lot more of the sound.
Yeah.
It's becoming sort of a little more of a I would say just influence show by you. I remember that. So when does that become production for you? Like, are you producing stuff because of your brother the whole time, or?
I mean, I had produced some tracks here and there over the years, even before when I was younger. Like, in '99, I put out a 45 on Stone's Throw. Like, I just, like, I've done some music over the years, just from whatever, just the nature of me being a DJ and being into music. And yeah, the fact that I used to watch my brother make beats kind of also showed me the ropes in some sense. But I do remember when I took on the Kanye gig, there was like a conscious decision to like become more active on my end, on the A-Trak side, just because I didn't want to suddenly just go from being like world champion DJ, like in the DJ world, just being known for myself, for A-Trak, to suddenly just becoming Kanye's guy.
An instant replay DJ.
Exactly,
yeah.
I mean, there's also the fact that I managed to convince those guys to stop using an instant replay.
Which is awesome.
But when I took on the Kanye gig, it definitely motivated me to put out more material just as A-Trak.
Yeah, and you're meeting all these rappers who are coming to me. I mean, you're sort of starting to fiend for the idea of doing music for them.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, I'm trying to remember if I've actually. Oh, I mean, working with Lupe, for example, was through the Kanye connection. But just the amount of exposure that I got from the Kanye gig was huge. But I wanted to continue to be known for stuff as A-Trak.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, I think around like 2005, 2006 is when I started really making beats more regularly and just kind of seriously, like, all right, let me sit down and make a couple of beats, as opposed to like, let me make one track a year or whatever.
Right.
So I started making more beats, and I put out the Sunglasses Is a Must DVD, and I put out some like live mixtapes, like, just recording
sets,
shows, live sets, and then I guess around 2006 is when also the style of music that I was DJing and then producing started evolving a little bit,
and that's where that's the Nick Ketchup story. Yeah, I mean, it's like it was the same thing for him, which was like, I remember knowing him before that and being like, oh, he's into some dance shit, and he's talking about people I don't know, and then I went, oh, now I know them all.
Right. Yeah,
I was like, those were people he had like barbecues with.
Right.
They're all becoming famous.
Right.
So I know that time really well.
Yeah, for sure. That was a time where a lot of scenes were starting to converge, or not. It wasn't the scenes yet. It was more like DJs were starting to mix and match a lot of styles that traditionally weren't played together as much. And DJs always did that, but there was kind of a transition going on then, and a lot was converging towards kind of more up-tempo stuff and just club music. Like, the whole concept of club music became like an umbrella for all types of different records to make sense together. And around then I started producing tracks for Kid Sister because she and I met and just started making music together. And at first it was just her and I kind of coming up with just whatever we were coming up with, just new sounds or whatever. And that led to me also starting to do remixes. And then at the top of 2007, Nick and I started Fool's Gold, basically.
So Nick Ketchup's and for people who didn't hear the Ketchup's podcast,
right?
Nick Ketchup's blogger, DJ, another Renaissance guy in hip hop, fader, right? So he kind of starts to branch out in the same way you are, which is like, oh, I'm doing some really cool shit, but there's a passion I have. I feel a little constrained in that passion. Yeah. I'm going to go out. And so you guys start a boutique record label. You've had some history with it, considering you put out a 45 at Stone's Throw.
Yeah, and also I used to have another record label before.
With your brother, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Dave and I had a hip-hop label called Audio Research.
Nice.
Which used to run through Fat Beats. So that's like a whole...
Wow.
Yeah, there's a whole phase of my life that's like really heavy in the New York underground. Like doing records with nonfiction.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. Yes, I knew Necro in those years and everything.
He's come up on the podcast many times.
Yeah,
well, especially with this Odd Future stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, this horrorcore thing.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Back, Odd Future is a return to like that whole sound.
Yeah, that definite. Def Chucks and the whole thing. So now Kid Sister production. Now you've created this label with Nick.
Yeah.
Fool's Gold.
Did you do Pro Nails or was that okay?
I produced Pro Nails.
Pro Nails, which is one of Kid Sister's hit.
Oh, it was so great.
So great. And Kanye's on the regular or the remix?
I mean, we called it a remix originally because there was a version without him.
Yeah, but it became the one everyone knew.
Yeah. I just love the mixtape version where he's talking on it at the beginning and he's like,
yeah.
He's like, this is my shit.
Yeah. Well, and what he says is true. I was glad that he said that when he said something about, I didn't do this because A-Trak, right? It's my shit, so I rapped on it, which is true. Like I was producing Kid Sister and I was DJing for Kanye. Kanye raps on a Kid Sister track, not because I hustle and I'm like, can you do me this solid? It's really just because I'm sitting there in the corner working on the beat on my headphones, and he's like, let me hear what you're doing. Oh, it's this track that I'm doing with my girl or whatever, because at the time we were dating.
Right.
And he's like, yo, I love that beat. I like the chords. And then he kept asking about it, like, yo, what's that song? Like, what are you doing with it? And then eventually he asked me for the beat, and he just rapped on it, like,
crazy.
Really without me asking for it.
It's a great song. So she's the first release?
Yes.
On Fool's Gold?
Yeah. Okay. FGR001.
Yeah. I get those emails. Nick's had me on those for a long time. Who else? So who's next?
At the beginning of Fool's Gold?
Yeah.
I mean, the beginning of the label was cool because it was really Nick and I kind of thinking about who's around us, who's our like constellation of friends, and be like, well, these guys make good music and don't have a label, and da-da-da. So the first couple of releases were Kid Sister, some Sammy Bananas Party Records, Jokers of the Scene, friends of ours from Canada, and Cool Kids were supposed to be FGR003, but then there was some contractual stuff, and they went and signed to Chocolate Industries. You guys put out the single,
right?
Yeah, well, we pressed up a single. They signed to Chocolate as we were about to put out the single, so we had to hold it for a while. It came out like a year later. Then they got into their legal stuff with Chocolate. But they were definitely down with the label in the beginning. And, we had them at our early, CMJ showcases, and so we were pushing them a lot. And Kid Cudi, Day and Night was, I think, FGR06, like definitely one of the first.
And in the first he's related to Kid Sister? No, yes?
No.
But that's how you met him, or no?
No, I met Cudi through Pat.
Pat.
Okay. So I knew Pat, obviously from the Kanye stuff.
Yeah.
And Pat used to send me other things that he was just kind of like keeping his eye on as an A&R, right? So he was like, what do you think of this guy? I think the first track he sent me was I can't remember the B-side to Day and Night. And anyways, and then he played me Day and Night a little after, and I was like, this song is dope.
Yeah.
That New is the song I'm thinking.
Oh, right.
The New was the B-side to Day and Night on our single. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing he sent me. Then I hear Day and Night, and I remember going on the flight back from somewhere really far overseas, like Australia or something, and so to put you in context, no one knows who Cudi is. He's just this kid from Cleveland or whatever that Plain Pat sends me an MP3 of. And I come to listen to this song on my iPod on a really long flight. And I remember just keeping it on repeat for like the whole fucking flight, like 15-hour flight, just being like, just listening to Day and Night. And, being like, and like then landing and be like, I need to put this record out. It's really good.
Yeah.
So, hitting up Pat, do you want to do a single on my label? He's like, yeah, sure. They don't have anything else.
Because at that point, it was strictly MySpace, right? For them?
Yeah.
I had, he had put out a mixtape. Did he put out a mixtape with a clothing line?
With 10 Deep. That was a little after.
Same as,
And you guys had a party for him?
Yeah.
In here? Right.
Yeah. There was, we had him play a couple of our events. Cudi came on the first Fool's Gold tour, as an opener. No one knew him, and he would just play when no one was there. And after a few months later, had this huge hit on his hands.
Right.
But yeah, we put out Day and Night and got the Crookers remix, which also blew up.
Yeah.
My God.
And next thing you know, like the song really grew organically though. Like we never.
It was out for a while.
Yeah.
It was on that NBA game before it blew up. I remember it was on one of those NBA EA sports games.
Yeah.
Jim Jones jumped on the remix.
Jim Jones jumped on the song just like because he liked it.
For fun,
Yeah. And after a couple of months, next thing you know, it's like, oh wait, we're in the Hot 97 top 10 playlist, and the remix is getting licensed to like these big dance labels in Europe, and that became definitely our biggest seller.
So my question is when you created this label, did you see it as a farm system? Was it ever seen as sort of? Did you want to then sign him, or did you know that's a little big of a beast for our boutique?
No, we didn't see the label as a sort of like, stepping stone. Like
sure.
We intended on signing people for albums, but for the first year or so, we just weren't really set up for it yet.
Right.
So after
some of the best stuff comes in at that time.
Yeah. So after about a year, we did a joint venture with Downtown, and then we were able to sign artists to full album deals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But when we had Cudi, he blew up. Once he blew up, we weren't quite set up to put out an album yet.
Okay.
So he signed to Universal, and we did a deal with them for the song and everything.
Right, upstream, right.
And that's just how that happens. But for the most part, Nick and I were always interested in the long haul, because I think what we really enjoy doing with the label is the whole aspect of artist development and finding someone who's got a ton of potential but is still kind of figuring things out and taking it to a point where you can play it to anybody and work on a full album. And
Donis was a single deal?
Yeah, Donis was a bit of an exception too, because I'd known him for so long and we talked about doing a deal for so long, and he went through many managers in the beginning.
Right.
And then finally, when he was about to sign to Atlantic, he was starting to work with Dan Solomito, who we knew also. Nick knew Dan pretty well because he managed Kids in the Hall.
Right. Yeah.
And they were looking for someone to put out Gone, and we liked the song, and so at that point we were already doing album deals with a bunch of our signees, and in general wouldn't have been interested in doing a one-off single deal, but because I've had this relationship with Donis since the beginning, and we talked about doing something together for so long, it was like, all right, well, you know what, for you, we'll help you with this single. And it was, it's great. So Donis is still family for sure.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. So now, okay, go ahead.
Duck sauce.
That's what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
So we're like my thing is Catch Ups and I have been friends for a long time, and he's one of those guys who was putting me on to the dance stuff, and I wasn't buying it. On the other hand, was still listening to the LP albums. I was still sort of sticking to what I wanted. I didn't see the melding as much. I still kind of thought that Nick was hanging out at raves.
You know who saw it? And we've talked about this before. Just Blaze.
He did. Yeah. There was a lot of people who saw.
You know what's funny about Just Blaze is when Nick and I first started the label, and we would just write out these drafts or just little brainstorms of what could we put out that would be dope. Nick and I both had this idea at the very beginning of we know that Just Blaze is from Jersey.
Right.
We know he used to DJ these roller rinks or whatever. We know he knows house music. We need to track him down and get him to do some sort of house music project on Fool's Gold.
Wow.
And I knew just a little bit because I met him through some Kanye stuff. So I remember meeting him, when I was on tour with Kanye. I remember giving him the first Chromeo album, and he loved it.
And a DJ by trade, right?
He's a
DJ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the then I kind of lost track or lost touch with him for a while, and then about a year ago, we reconnected again, and I got him to DJ a Fool's Gold party.
Right.
And he plays this track that's really dope, and I'm like, yo, what is this? He's like, I made it. And I'm like, this is the thing that Nick and I thought of.
Draft, this is our mission statement.
Right. It's dope. So now he's doing a record for us.
That's great. That's really great.
I didn't know that.
No, neither did I.
That's really cool. Really cool. So let's go to Duck Sauce. So you and Armand Van Helden, who back in the day, 10 years ago, these are two completely different fucking worlds. I mean, I remember Armand Van Helden's. I remember a bunch of these names. Even obviously not Moby. Well, Moby as well, but I mean, some of these guys who it was two different worlds. Yeah. I mean, I remember when M went at Moby.
Yeah.
Nobody listened to techno.
Yeah, which is funny because Moby doesn't make techno.
No, not at all. So, to see these worlds colliding, you can see that music is starting to go this way. Just Blaze is a great example. Yeah. You as well, having sort of an influence on Kanye, touring, hearing that kind of turn into dance, everything sort of being... So now you and Armand Van Helden, who super well known for years and years and years of touring, create your own production duo. Yeah. But is it more of an act? Is it a group? Is it a musical act, or is it more of a production duo to do other things now?
I mean, originally it was just me and him making tracks together, and we called it Duck Sauce. Mm-hmm. And now it got much bigger, so we can do shows or whatever else. Yeah. But it's funny. The people that I work with now. I came to realize that I did cross paths with them about 10 years ago in certain cases, but back then, in the late 90s or whatever, my mind was just so not paying attention to dance music.
Your backpack was on very tight.
Yes. Yeah. All I cared about was scratching and whatever was on Raucous, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
and so funny to hear.
Yeah, so then then fast forward 10 years later, I'm making different kinds of music, whatever. Some of it's house, electro, this and that. And then I'll meet these legends of house music, and they'll be like, "Yo, I met you when you were 16." And I'll be like, "Man, I really don't remember." Meeting Daft Punk and then being like, "Yo, I saw you play in Miami."
Really?
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, I remember seeing you play in Miami."
When they were wearing helmets.
No.
He knows them. He knows them.
But that's bugged out for them to be like, "Yo, crazy. I know you 10 years ago. I knew you 10 years ago." So, but the thing with Armand that's cool is, I mean, I got to know Armand in the last, I guess, maybe 3 years. I met him about 3 years ago. Just us being two DJs in New York and having a few mutual friends. But there's something that clicked when I met him, when I was I remember thinking oh, wait a second, this is a hip hop dude that's just doing house music, but he's always remained a hip hop dude from just this is essentially someone with a b-boy mentality, he stays on the sidelines of the house shit. He doesn't really live the house music lifestyle. He doesn't wear, button down shirts with gel in his hair.
Yeah.
He's not
no glow sticks.
No. No. He doesn't wear, diesel shoes or whatever. This is a hip hop dude that wears, his sneaker game is on point. So at that time when I was just starting to experiment with the whole idea of meshing dance music and hip hop, or just electro and hip hop, and I made this mixtape called Dirty South Dance, with a bunch of bootlegs with southern acapellas over electro tracks, and I was making the first couple of Kid Sister records, right? And that's the time when I met Armand, and he got it right away. He understood what I was doing, and I remember talking to him the first couple of times, and noticing that he really kind of saw what I was doing, and me thinking of course you get it, because this is the same shit that you were doing in 94 or 96 or whatever. Armand used to put records out on Nervous.
Oh, you know what I mean? Records,
when we shot the Barbra Streisand video and we did the scene with Buckshot, Armand and Buckshot had a conversation about Nervous Records, about how they used to never get paid and shit. That was, for me, that was dope. It all came full circle.
Yeah. So excuse my naive answer here, but I didn't know about Duck Sauce until Barbra Streisand. Okay. So you guys put out a couple songs before that.
There was one official single a year before, which already did quite well, but just Barbra Streisand became bigger.
It's a monster.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Nike Town the other day, and people are it's on, and then people that work there are, Barbra Streisand. I mean, they're literally, it's
the song's great,
the
video's great, but the third thing, though, is there's a website now, right? Is it GoBarbra.com, where you can put something that's 4 syllables or less in there, and instead of saying Barbra Streisand, it will say...
That's very funny.
A website developed by some guy in Poland.
Oh, really? No affiliation.
No affiliation.
I mean, he reached out to us and was like, "Hey, is it okay if I do this?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And now we're kind of working with him to kind of build it into a bigger thing together. But originally, it's literally just a guy in Poland that made that website.
Oh, it's great.
That's really funny.
It's really great.
Like Chat Roulette. Also,
GoBarbra.
Also Poland.
Really?
I've never been on Chat Roulette. I've never.
Well, we can set that up.
The same way that I'm a Beats by Dre hater, I was a Chat Roulette
hater. Well, both are probably safer for you.
Right.
So Barbra Streisand, can you? considering the odd nature of the song and the weird subject, do you guys talk about why Barbra Streisand? Is that something that's out there? Is there a reason why she's picked? Is it why it's not Barbara Walters? Why why it's not Rivers Cuomo? Like, was there a reason why these things?
It just sounded good. Like it was, like everybody always asks us, but that's obviously the reason why we said Barbra Streisand is for people to be like, why Barbra Streisand? Like that's always my answer.
My song with Kanye, funny enough, I did the same thing. My song with Kanye, which is from his second, 2002, right? Is called Armand Asante. Yeah. And for no reason. It was going to be called Ruby Foos Made Me Sick. Because the night before I ate at Ruby Foos and I got Jeff Rosenthal sick. And so I told Kanye that and he was like, that's a funny title. So I named it. But then I say Armand Asante. I didn't. I just thought it was a funny name. My mom always found him attractive. So I was like, well, that's funny. I'm going to put it in the song. And then I actually said his name in the song and then it was the title. So I get it. I understand. No need to dig further. Right, I would like to be like, is it Freudian? You know what I mean?
No, the thing, when we were making Barbra Streisand, really we were working on a couple songs at the same time. Yeah. And we had the track done. We had the music done. I mean, it's easy to imagine. Imagine the song without the word Barbra Streisand. We had the loop, the drums,
the 7 times. Yeah, I could do it.
And we just knew that it was missing something, but we couldn't really tell what. So we kind of put it aside and worked on another song and came back to it. And it was like, all right, well, this song just kind of needs something. I remember even playing it to my brother. And him being like, yeah, you guys should just put something like silly, something. So me being like, yeah, that's a good idea, something silly. And then I went back to Armand's crib, and we're just kind of thinking, like, what can we throw in there? Like a sample? Should we look for a sample? And he was like, well, why don't we just say something? And somehow there was a sort of half-hour brainstorm session that went from like, we need something silly to we can say something ourselves to why don't we just say someone's name to like, it'd be bugged out if we said someone's name who does music but has nothing to do with us. So then that's really what it was. So then there was sort of a short list of like, all right, do we want to say... I remember it was Neil Young.
I'd love to hear this. Rejects. Neil Young. Okay, go on. I'm going to test them all.
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Oh, Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yeah. Too many syllables. Yeah, and Barbra Streisand, I think, was like one of the first ideas. And I remember Armand just saying it like, we could say like Barbra Streisand. And his voice just sounded good. And I was like, that's good. But let's make sure we have the right one. Like, let's go through a couple ideas. And then just coming back to like, I really think when you said Barbra Streisand, that was good. So
I thought you didn't think you'd ever say that in your life.
Yeah. I just wish she was on Twitter to see her name trending, because of that.
I know. I wish I could play her the song, but I have no way of reaching her.
I'm pretty sure. I would assume she's heard it.
Well, there's a whole thing. So, all right. So it's Armand's voice on the track. We recorded it. We didn't think it would be like a huge hit or whatever. It was just like, this song is funny. Yeah. And then the song comes out, and then the song kind of blows up. The video comes out, gets a whole bunch of views. So we start doing all these interviews, and more people are asking like, what does she think? And we're like, we don't know. Yeah. Actually, when we were filming the video and we were getting all the cameos because the video is like
cameo. It's a great video. It was free on iTunes, which was like the greatest day of my life because I was like, where can I buy this? And then I tune on iTunes. It's like free download. Yeah. I was so excited.
Yes. So in looking for guest cameos in the video, the director wanted to get Barbra.
Wow.
And so like the production company for the video tried to reach out to her people and
didn't work out. Who plays Barbra Streisand?
So then I think they just found some like I wasn't involved in getting the Barbra double.
Okay. She's very funny.
But she is an official Barbra lookalike.
Oh, really?
And there's this funny thing where like when they went to film her, she would only do things that she thought Barbra Streisand would do.
Oh,
like
wow.
she was like a professional.
Yeah.
She was a professional Barbra Streisand double, and the director was talking to her like, all right, well, can we get you to can we go to Central Park?
Yeah.
And she'd be like, well, I think the way Barbra would do this would be da-da-da. And so everything was under that angle. It was really funny.
My second question, due to the Rosa Parks Outcast thing, is there a legal issue that you have to go to?
No, there's no... we looked into it.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to say someone's name. It's just, I think the Rosa Parks thing is there's a defamation.
Yeah, which it is, because the song's not about, and it's talking about shit that she doesn't want to be involved in.
Right.
This song literally just says Barbra Streisand over and over.
Right. So everybody wants to know if Barbra heard the song. When the song blew up, we were doing all this press. I remember we did an interview for Billboard, and Billboard tried to officially reach out. I mean, they have more juice than I have. So, and there was some sort of quote that said, some rep said, Barbra is currently away, overseas or on vacation. I forget what it said. Like she's away from the country and she's not aware of the song. Yeah. So that was the only thing I heard. And then literally I think this weekend or like, literally, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, someone sent me a link to, this is hilarious. There's some sort of like Barbra fan forum site.
Yeah.
And there was a thread about the song where all these people are like, and it's like some like 40-year-olds like
totally confused.
In Russia saying like, what is this song? Like,
is she involved?
All these people up in arms like, this is so disrespectful. And other people are like, no, well, I think it's fun. It's weird. It's not my cup of tea, this style of music. And like a whole debate between Barbra Uber fans who post on the forum. And the last entry is someone who says, well, will.i.am apparently talked on some panel with her during Grammy weekend and played her the song and something. So this, like
brand
literally
new,
a day ago, I read this thing. Apparently, Mr. will.i.am, who we really should be like, if we talk about will.i.am at this table, normally it would be to make fun of his haircut or something.
We do it a lot.
Oh yeah,
we do it a lot.
But now I have this sort of like inkling of like, should I be grateful to
will.i.am? Was it will.i.am or was it Black, Super Black? Maybe Super Black. Maybe Super Black played it for.
I would think that in the conversation with Barbra Streisand, he would be will.i.am.
Maybe, or the hologram. He could have also been hologram will.i.am.
I want to know. Does anybody talk about how his wig is like Cool Keith's wig? Like
it's 100. It is Cool Keith's wig. I almost feel like he borrowed it from Cool Keith. It is Cool Keith's wig. I don't even think it's like it. I think he actually is wearing Cool Keith's wig.
Cool Keith, yes.
Yeah, Cool Keith's like, this sucks. This is horrible.
Because there's a few instances recently where I caught myself like making comparisons to things where I'm like, people who listen to rap music nowadays don't even remember this stuff. Like when Kanye and Jay-Z put out Ham, I remember thinking like, opera, this is like Concerto of the Desperado, the root song. And then
Exhibit Paparazzi.
Right. Yeah. And then I remember thinking like, no one who listens to rap music today remembers Concerto of the Desperado.
Do you think any kid who's into Odd Future right now understands anything when we say Gravediggers?
No.
Or Flatliners? Do you think that even, or Onyx?
They don't care.
They don't give a shit. They laugh at us.
Right.
It's a joke.
Right.
A couple things we'll go before we start to wrap up. A couple things that I want to talk about is I was also close with AM, so I was at the service that you did an amazing job at. That was one of those moments where 15 DJs went up. Yeah. Yours was just absolutely stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, I did a routine dedicated to him.
Oh, incredible! Yeah. And you then went on to work with Travis. You kind of you were the only person I could imagine to fill any shoes.
Right, and then just recently I had to put that project aside, but Travis just started doing shows with Mixmaster Mike, and I think that's a great fit.
That's a great fit. Wow. And you're so busy. But still, you were able to be the first DJ to work with Travis.
After AM
passed. So that was obviously a big deal. And then you recently put out a song that I love that I have on my iTunes, Ray-Ban Vision.
Oh,
which I have
great song.
Cool.
Sci-Hi.
I can't say it right. Yeah. I also say papoose.
You do.
Instead of papoose. I have trouble with some
And you also pronounce Aziz Aziz.
But I've been saying Aziz better now.
Yes, you have. Yeah.
I can't get papoose.
No.
Papoose will always be a beautiful little baby bonnet.
Papoose.
He'll be a beautiful little baby bonnet.
You're doing him such a disservice.
Papoose? Oh no, Papoose did a bad service for Papoose. But you put that.
You know who did a good service for him? Jive. Jive did a really good service.
1 million services. Right. Question about it though: what is Ray-Ban Vision from? I remember thinking that to myself. Is this an album that you're putting together with rap on it, with working with rappers?
No, it's on the Fool's Gold compilation.
Okay.
And the way that song came to be was pretty funny. We're just like, Nick and I had been working on this Fool's Gold compilation for a while. And then finally the whole thing was coming together, and then we were trying to put it out in time for like an October release. Like I remember there was all these constraints, like, all right, we should put it out before fourth quarter hits.
Right.
So we have to like hand in the parts like next week, and then, but this is good timing because it'll come out at the same time as CMJ. We always do Fool's Gold shows at CMJ. So it was all kind of lining up. And I just didn't have any new songs finished myself. So I was always saying like, all right, well, there's not going to be an A-Trak record on it, but we're just busy kind of getting everybody else to finish their tracks. Like, come on, dude, like everybody on the label, like you got to finish your song. It all comes together. And finally, as we're like a week from handing in the compilation, I'm kind of like, man, it's kind of crazy that we put out the first Fool's Gold comp and I don't have an A-Trak song on it. So, but I was on tour. Like I didn't know how I could actually make a song.
Yeah.
But I, come to the conclusion of like, fuck it, I gotta make a new song for this compilation because there needs to be something on there. So I was on tour, and I was just kind of thinking like, all right, well, I'll make a beat and I'll send it to a rapper. So I made that beat, in a hotel room.
Really?
In Europe, like just kind of like, let me make like 3 beats and I'll pick the best one. That's what I did. It was like I was touring in Europe for a weekend, and
the other two are going to Papoose.
Right. Exactly. In various hotel rooms, I make 3 beats.
Yeah.
And the last one, the third one, was the one that became Ray-Ban Vision. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll send this to a couple rappers. They'll each do a verse. So I had a couple people lined up. You know, Pill was going to do something. Donis was going to do something, and then Yellow Wolf was actually going to do something, but he was on tour. So we're trying to work out like the schedules and stuff. And then meanwhile, I'm seeing Sci-Hi start to bubble, and he's he's starting to work with Kanye. So I remember when, in that context, I was like, man, I like this dude Sci-Hi. He can rap. Like, I like his voice and everything. So I hit him up for a verse, and he sends me back a full vocal with a theme. He made a song about sunglasses. I'm sure he doesn't know about sunglasses. I'm flattered that you guys know about my like self-made biopic or whatever from 5 years ago.
Totally,
but Sci-Hi the Prince, I don't think he knows of my interest in shades.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, makes a song about sunglasses for me, with a hook and 2 verses. So I'm like, well,
he did the hook. Wow.
Yeah, he just did he sent me back the track with everything.
Crazy.
And I was like, whoa, well, the song is done. What do I tell Pill? So like I've been holding on to this remix with them that I'm going to put out.
Oh, awesome.
Because they were also like ready to go, right?
And now they write about sunglasses. Now they're in the song with a theme and a hook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. So but at that point I was like, well, this is great. I'm gonna be able to meet my deadline because Sci-Hi just really came through for me and made a full song for me. All I need to do is go home and kind of add a little scratch and mix it down. So that's what I did. I came home, mixed it, scratched on something that said I can't see, and put the song on the compilation, and that track ended up being the song that we decided to kind of give to blogs as a kind of calling card for the compilation. Like, hey, we have this compilation coming out. Here's a new A-Trak song with Sci-Hi the Prince.
Really cool.
Wow.
Right as Sci-Hi was getting even more attention because So Appalled had just came out. Right at the same time. So Appalled comes out. Everybody's like, yo, who's the new guy on the song?
Yeah, really. I remember. And then you hit up and I was like, oh God, I missed something here.
Yeah.
So good. I get it.
Yeah.
So as we start to wrap up, what do you?
I was just wondering. Now a lot of time has passed since the Hawaii recording sessions have happened.
Yes.
Can you now finally confirm that you were there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I went to Hawaii at one point, and as did a lot of people.
You're right.
Yeah,
and everyone was sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
And then
We couldn't even get 88 Keys to admit that he knew where Hawaii was.
Right.
88 Keys like, is that a state? Is it a country?
Haven't you ever played Risk?
Yeah.
Did you place a country?
He's like, I don't even know where you're talking about.
But do you have any good stories from down there? Did you play basketball with everybody?
No, I didn't play basketball. That's my thing is like, no matter what I do, I can never kind of like black out on like all my other responsibilities in life as A-Trak or whatever. So when I go work with Kanye, like it becomes like the vortex of Kanye land where just like it'll consume your whole days and stuff. But I would have to, find a couple of hours, typically in the morning when I first woke up, to just, do my other work, like run my record label, like hit people back on emails and just kind of, make sure that whatever else I'm planning for the next couple of weeks is like still in motion. So that's every day when I woke up, the first couple of hours, I would just do my A-Trak and Fool's Gold business. And that's when Kanye would have everybody at his crib and everybody would have breakfast together, play basketball as it's been documented in the Complex article, and then go to the studio. I would just meet them at the studio, and really no one wants me on their basketball team. Like, it's probably better off that I didn't play basketball. I don't know how to play basketball.
I'm a big John Stockton fan. So you speak for yourself.
I love the fact that, and I saw this in the Nicki documentary on MTV, that she shows up early. She's like, I don't care to stay at, she's like, I'll fall asleep if I get to a session.
I was there when Nicki and Rick Ross were there. That was funny too.
Nice.
But when she was recording, it was like a closed room. It was just her and Kanye, and everybody else it would be like, all right, you guys go and like
play basketball.
Do something. Well, the
basketball.
basketball court somewhere else. Like go, like, talk amongst yourself and browse the internet and eat in the fridge or something.
Was Ross's part always supposed to be so short and at the beginning? Do you know?
No, I don't think so. But Monster changed a lot over time. The beat for Monster changed. The guests changed. Everything changed.
Because I remember when it first the clip first leaked from Hawaii, it seemed like it was much more of a big part for Ross.
I think so. Yeah,
and that it might have even been for
verse.
his album. Like, that's what the impression was.
Right. Yeah, they were it's just there's all these songs being worked on at the same time, and they changed so much. you can tell when you listen to the songs on the album that these are songs that have had like many lives because there's so many change-ups and stuff. Incidentally, I have my own titles that I like to give that album because My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is one, a title that I really don't like, and I tried to convince him not to use it, and two, it's impossible to say. So I prefer to call the song, the album, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then when people use the acronym like MB, I remember trying to say it once and be like MSNBC, whatever.
I don't even say the title. I've never said it.
Yeah.
I know Kanye, new record.
You say the great one, yeah.
Yeah, the great
the one that got 10 on Pitchfork.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you been to Peter Gabriel's studio in London?
What?
For the
new Kanye.
For the new Kanye stuff.
Oh, is that what people are saying? No, I haven't been to Peter Gabriel's studio in London.
The one here? Been here? He's doing it here too. Right?
Yeah, he's doing New York stuff.
Maybe. He's been there, maybe.
I don't know because people are recording things.
It's a lot of recording going on. No basketball though.
No basketball.
No, we don't play basketball. So as we start to wrap up, what's going on right now? What's next? What do you have in the pipeline?
Right now, I'm working on the Duck Sauce album. Mm-hmm. I'm working on
Duck Sauce album. Is that guests? Is that just a dance record? Is it what is it?
No, it's not going to be strictly a dance record. Mm-hmm. I think the thing about Duck Sauce is it's loops, like it's us. It's the search for the perfect loop. It's just like a bunch of samples and like a lot of it ends up being produced like house music. But on the album, I think there's going to be like more latitude to just kind of
very cool
go outside of the house bracket because no one really wants to listen to an album of house music. You listen to house music when you go out. So like the way that we're seeing the album, I think it's going to be, less strictly in the context of house music. But yeah, so we're working on Duck Sauce. I'm working on just some more A-Trak production, whatever, like just whenever I have time. I'm preparing for a whole bunch of touring this year. Great. I'll be playing Coachella. And then I'm doing
as Duck Sauce, right?
As Duck Sauce and as A-Trak.
Okay.
And then I'm doing a tour just myself after that, and a whole bunch of festivals in Europe over the summer. So I'm kind of just building whatever's going to be the A-Trak show this year, which is going to be bigger than in previous years, just because I'm getting booked on festivals on bigger stages. So I have to do something. Yeah. So I'm working on my show, and just everything else that I usually do, whether it be Fool's Gold or producing tracks for people or remixes or helping Kanye with things here and there. Yeah.
Well, how you fit an hour into that for us? I have no fucking idea.
No, we so appreciate.
We appreciate you coming in, man. And you're on Twitter.
Yes,
you're very funny on Twitter.
I am on Twitter.
Yeah. You're very funny on Twitter. It's just A-Trak.
It's
just A-Trak. You get retweeted by Funny or Die. I've seen that.
Yeah, that was great.
You and Diplo.
Yeah. What did I say that I don't even remember what I said that Funny or Die retweeted, but that got me a whole bunch of
yeah, me too. That's the best retweet. I'm always like Funny or Die just retweeted me. I always get excited about that. Yeah. But please follow him because he's very funny.
Totally.
He's very funny. And Fool's Gold, all these things, keep eye out. I mean, Duck Sauce to me
it's great.
To me, I know this sounds stupid, but like to me, Barbra Streisand is day and night. I feel like that's gonna take a life of its own even further than this.
Yeah, so, it's man. When I go overseas and play out there, it's kind of nuts to see like the reaction because it's doing well in America, but in Europe, it's like really number one consecutive weeks. Like for real charts number one record. Like you hear people singing in the streets and stuff.
Well, like the cool kids like it.
Yes.
No, I don't. The band. Well, contractually, they can't admit it. They can't admit it because their contracts. Right. Well, thank you so much, A-Trak. I appreciate it, and this has been an honor for us. So this is Jensen.
I'm Eric.
And Jeff's not here. He's pooping, but if he was here, he would have loved this podcast. Totally. Thank you so much, A-Trak. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye-bye.